Thanks so much, Nicole. And again, thank you all for joining us today. I will admit this is the first time we have taken this virtual. We've done it for many years in person. And so I do appreciate you being our guinea pigs with us here. And we're going to see how this goes. So we have allocated, obviously, 90 minutes for this. And again, we're running it for every Tuesday in the month of June. So that's 4 weeks. Typically, we run this course for 6 weeks at 2-hour sessions. So not only are we expediting it because weather is getting nice and we all have things we'd like to do in the evening, but also because it is virtual, we won't have as much interaction with each of you as a participant. However, rest assured that you will have all of your questions answered. You will also be given all of the one-on-one attention that you need. And if that doesn't happen through the presentations, Nicole and I will certainly address those one-on-one. So basically, we are going to talk about today we're going to talk about launch and grow your small business. And so some of you have already been in business. Some of you are just on the verge. And some of you may just be thinking about it. So hopefully this will be of interest to all of you. And although you may know some of this already, I always feel that when you hear it again, perhaps you'll catch something in the meantime or something that's a little bit different than you saw before. So with that, I am going to take myself off of video so that we can focus on the slides. And again, Nicole will moderate for us, so she will be reading the comments or questions that you have as we go on. So here we go. Well, maybe if we're going to start here.
Nope,
There
I
we
can
go.
see your slides.
There we go. Okay, so launch and grow your business right. This is the Small Business Information Series, and as I said, it will run June 2nd through June the 30th. That's 4 short weeks. At the end of this, if you complete all 4 weeks, we will be issuing certification that you have completed this series. So it not only perhaps helps build a resume, if you're going for a bank loan, looking for investors in your business, that can also be helpful. So I do hope that you will choose to stick with us for the 4 weeks and get that certification. What is entrepreneurship? First of all, how do we spell entrepreneurship? It is among one of the worst misspelled words in the dictionary. But entrepreneurship, in essence, is a risk-taking business person. So that person is someone who initiates or finances new commercial enterprises. I'd like to point out, it is risk-taking business person. Any of you who have started or even are thinking about starting know that there's certainly risks involved. Some of those risks are easier to overcome than others. Some of them we might have a little trouble with, and that's because we are born with particular traits. And what does it take to be an entrepreneur? Well, it takes lots of things. But we're going to talk about the top 10. It takes a passion. In order to be an entrepreneur and be willing to take that risk, you've got to be passionate about what you're doing. That could be the product you're selling. That can be the service that you're providing. Whatever it is, you must be passionate. Oftentimes, a business will start from someone who began a hobby, and they were so passionate about that hobby that they wanted to turn it into a full-time business. The second is persistence. As you go along the road of becoming an entrepreneur, you will experience many, many bumps. And I call them bumps because with the help of our local resources, we can work with you to pretty much overcome any and all of those. Pardon me, that pollen in the air today is crazy. So just because you hit a bump in the road we certainly encourage you to continue on. Do not give up. As a matter of fact, in business, it is often the third attempt before an entrepreneur becomes successful. That might be finding the right thing that they're passionate about, or it might be doing things differently the second and third time around. But nonetheless, it is very often the third time that's a charm, so to speak, and use that cliche. We also need good health and energy. Definitely, it is important because basically as an entrepreneur, the buck stops with you. And you're going to hear me say that time and time again, but it is certainly true. So you need to be in good health and have lots of energy in order to accomplish all of the things that are required to be your own business person. There's no such thing as calling in sick. If you're not there to oversee or to lead your team, chances are it may not get done or may not get done the way you would like it to. And if your business serves the public and your customers, let's say from 8 a.m. until even 7 p.m., your day as an entrepreneur certainly is not complete. There are many things that continue to happen after hours and behind the scenes that make an entrepreneur successful. Quite honestly, an entrepreneur works basically 24/7. That ties back to number one, your passion, because you can't just shut it down. Even if you're unplugged from all of technology, if you're out in the mountains and nowhere, chances are you're going to be thinking about how and what are you doing right now, and how is what I'm seeing right now able to apply to my business. That is the passion in you. It takes creativity and innovation. There is a whole mirage of competition out there for our business today. And therefore, we have to be creative and innovative and think of what outside of the box of ways that we can get those dollars that everybody is fighting for. You have to be independent and self-reliant. You can't plan on anybody else to get it done for you. Again, even if you have staff, yes, they will work with you. But again, it's all up to you because it is your baby and it will become a part of you. It takes intuition. There is no book written on what makes a successful entrepreneur. There are things written about what other people have done that has been successful, what other people might suggest you don't do. But nothing is written for your specific business, for your passion, for your market, and for how you envision your business. So we need to be intuitive. Look at the resources around us. And we need self-confidence. We can't be afraid to take that risk. Remember, an entrepreneur is a risk-taking business person. We have to be aware of the market, and the market is constantly changing. Unfortunately, through this pandemic, we have seen that more than ever. So who is your market? Where are they? And at any given point in time, what can you do to reach them? We have to have the ability to accept challenges, obviously. There's a challenge every day in our lives, but being an entrepreneur presents more than just run-of-the-mill challenges. So we have to accept them, and we don't look at them as a negative. Oftentimes, a challenge can turn into quite a positive. And lastly, it takes a hard work ethic, because if you're going to be successful, because you're going to be successful, when you become successful, it's going to be because of the hard work and dedication that you have put into the business to make it yours. So what are some common traits of an entrepreneur? I said a bit ago that some things we are born with. Some of the traits we are born with. Some of them we grew up with. So typically one or both parents either are or they were self-employed, because the child who grows up in a home where at least one parent is self-employed is more likely to try their hand at starting a business. It only makes sense. If one of your parents did it, enjoyed it, was happy, provided for you, you are more willing to take that risk. You were in business at a young age. Oftentimes, people say, no, I've never been in a business before. But look at some of our examples. Just simply mowing lawns, shoveling snow, house cleaning, babysitting. I bet most of you were enterprising adults because you were an enterprising youth. They're very sociable people. More often than not, they're charming as well as sociable. This better equips them to charm the right banker, suppliers as you're negotiating, your customers, all the way down the line to get whatever it is you want. Think about it in your own experience. If you have someone assisting you who is a clerk or a professional providing a service, if those people are sociable, generally we're more apt to respond to them, and very often we end up doing business with them. And they're well organized. Good organizational skills are the basis to making qualified decisions. That doesn't mean that you have to be that person who has everything in place, because many times that is just the opposite with entrepreneurs. You may not be the best at paperwork or shuffling that paper, but your organizational skills might be in your mind, and therefore you are making qualified decisions. So none of these traits are overcomable. There are ways, there are materials, there are avenues to help you overcome some of these. For instance, if one or both of your parents was never self-employed, that's okay. Again, there are other mentors. There are other people willing to help you. There are business professionals who can help you work through that. So, unfortunately, startup businesses particularly, have a very high closure rate. So their failure rate far exceeds those that remain open for 5 or more years. So I would ask the questions, why would a business fail? Why would a business fail? So let's take a look at some of the reasons. First is not understanding the amount of money needed to get started right. You may think you can get by on, let's say, $10,000. But when you actually get to the reality of opening that business, it may be 15 or 20,000. So somehow along the line, you have borrowed that money, and now you've got to start making payments back. And just because you build it doesn't mean they're going to be there on day one. We need to plan, oftentimes for 12 to 18 months, to have little or no profit from our business. So it's very important that we have a good breakdown of what our expenses are going to be. And then we add a little pad to that, so that if we don't have those customers or those clients within the first couple of months, we are prepared to continue operating our business. The second reason is a failure to develop goals and strategies. A business plan, which is actually what we're going to do through the course of this small business series, is build or rebuild your business plan. Actually, businesses who have a written plan are 30% more likely to succeed than those that do not. So I'll ask, can you afford to take the time away from what you're doing to revamp your existing business plan, or to perhaps build a business plan from the beginning? Even if you've been in business, I come across clients who have been in business for maybe 10 years, have never done a written business plan. But I can also tell you that I have never come across someone who has completed one even after that length of time and has any regrets about the time they devoted to doing that. They have all been very pleased, and they learned what they thought they knew, but they didn't know. So a business plan is very important because businesses don't plan to fail. That's not why people open businesses, obviously, but businesses fail to plan. And so we at the Small Business Development Center, at the Lima Chamber, at the Potts Entrepreneur Center are here to help you complete this plan and make your business successful. The third reason a business might fail is lack of understanding the customer's needs. So you think you know what your customers want. When's the last time you asked them? When's the last time you did a survey to find out? You may think you know the customer's needs, but if you're not delivering that product or service that they really want, they're going to go elsewhere to find it. So it's important that whatever stage of business we are in, we totally understand the customer's needs. The fourth reason is poor knowledge of the product or services offered. Again, you may think you know the product or service that you're offering, but oftentimes there are many more things that it's capable of doing that you aren't aware of, or you can tweak it just a little bit and get to know it better. Simply having something in your shop or putting it on the shelf is not make you knowledgeable, is not going to bring you the customers. The fifth thing is bad or no marketing of the business. You might find this hard to believe. You might be asking, well, why would you be in business and not market it? And there are many businesses that do this. And poor marketing is probably as frequent as no marketing at all. Oftentimes I see businesses who will say, I'll ask what their advertising budget is. What is your marketing budget? What is your marketing plan? And they really don't know whatever's left or whatever I can afford. Well, let me tell you something. That is one of the first expenses you should build in. Because again, if they don't know about you or know the benefits of your product, they're not going to find you. Many times when businesses start up during a recession or a downturn in the economy or a slow market, they end up being the most successful in the end because they are doing their homework, they're finding out what their customers need, and they're marketing to those customers directly. Let's use a very recent example. When COVID-19 started and we were forced to stop doing commerce in a lot of ways, many of our businesses that we saw running ads on the television switched their message immediately. On social media, there was a huge switch in the marketing. So those particular businesses were prepared and did what they could do to market under the circumstances that they were given. And as we start to, again, do business and open our economy, most of those businesses are on top of it. And they are prepared to meet the needs of their customers because they fully understand what that is. What I'd like for you to do is if you have a piece of paper and pencil in front of you, jot down a couple of more reasons why a business might fail. We're just going to take a couple minutes here for you to do that. If you don't have paper and pencil, that's okay. Just give it a minute to think about it. Then I would encourage you, if any of you have a unique or strong idea that is not already on the screen, go ahead and share it in the chat box and Nicole will let us know what that is.
Kathy, we have poor support system, not revising your business plan are some of the comments.
Absolutely. Those are excellent, excellent ideas. And again, I'll say revising your business plan. I'm very glad that participant at least is thinking about a business plan, but that is correct. And I will say to you,
service and reputation also.
yes, that's right. And how do we build a good reputation is what we want to do, right? And that is basically a summary of what we've already discussed. Knowing your product, proper marketing, understanding your customers' needs, developing those goals and strategies, which goes along with not revising your business plan. So if you're going to write a business plan and stick it on the shelf and say, okay, I got my bank loan now, I've got my staff hired, this is what we're doing, we're following this plan, and you're going to stick it on a shelf and not look at it again for 3 to 5 or 10 years, it's not going to be effective for you. A business plan is a working tool. It's a work in progress. And so it needs to be reviewed frequently. As again, the economy changes, as your markets change, and they will. You could be in the same location for 20 years, but your market is going to change. And so if we don't keep up with those things and focus on that business plan, so everybody in our organization is tuned in to what our plan is, then it's not worth the piece of paper it's written on. And a business plan certainly is not written in concrete. It is a working document. Do you have to look at it every month? Not necessarily if things are going well. But at a minimum, I recommend you review your written business plan on an annual basis. Every time you're able to celebrate an anniversary of being in business for one more year and being successful, let's take a look at the business plan. That doesn't mean that a lot of things are going to change. But again, if we can tweak it just a bit, maybe find 1 or 2 things to make us better, that is what we strive to do. So the experts say that the major causes of business failure are neglect, and these are outside factors, by the way: neglect, disasters, fraud, economic factors, lack of experience, poor financial practices, and a lack of strategy. And so again, I'll go back to what we discussed earlier: neglect. The buck stops with you 24/7. You hopefully would not neglect your child or your pet, and therefore you don't neglect this business that you are building and nurturing. Disasters are out of our control, but we can be prepared for those. We can make sure we have the right insurance in place, that we, before we locate somewhere, we're aware of what the hurricane, the tornado, the earthquake, the flooding factors are, and be prepared against those if at all possible. There is fraud, and unfortunately it's going to happen, and it happens whether we like it or not. But again, staying up on what is current, keeping yourself in tune to what's going on in the world around you will help prevent that. And again, being attentive to your business, so your employees are not taking advantage of you. And with today's cameras and today's point of sales, there are so many advantages for us to avoid that. Economic factors, again, I don't have to tell any of you about that. What we have just gone through, who would have ever thought in November or December of 2019 that we would be looking at the injury that we have experienced in the first part of 2020. But we're resilient. We'll come back. We'll look at that and say, what if? We need to take this negative situation and turn it into a positive. Maybe that means diversifying our business. Maybe it means having a plan in place. I would say for the most part, I can feel safe in saying this caught most of us totally off guard. Most small businesses were not prepared for anything like this. But I'm also willing to go out on a limb and tell you that as we write our business plans or restructure our business plans going forward, this will play a factor into what we write. Lack of experience. It's one of the things that any investors or anybody you look at is going to ask you. So I want to open a hair salon. Well, have you ever worked in a hair salon? Do you have a license, beautician's license, a barber license? What is your experience? So we're not just coming in there cold and thinking, wow, that looks like I can really make a lot of money in that particular industry. But if you don't have the experience there, you really can't say that you know that industry. And poor financial practices. That could just be sloppy bookkeeping. That could be not knowing what the financial information that you're gathering is. That doesn't mean you have to be the person that does all of that. That's why we have other professionals such as accountants, CPAs, attorneys who can help with those things. But it is important that you understand the information they're providing to you. And in one of our sessions, I believe it's sessions number 3, we're going to get in more in depth in the financials as well. And then also having a lack of strategy, which again ties right back to the business plan. A business plan is often called a strategic plan. They're almost interchangeable, okay? But within your written business plan, you will have a strategy to be successful. And so 89.6% of business failures are due to bad management. The rest are minuscule. So think about that. Again, you are the manager, you are the owner, okay? You oversee everything. You're responsible. Don't pass the buck because the buck stops with you. So why does a business succeed? Obviously, it's just the opposite of everything that we talked about. And so again, I encourage you, if you have a paper and pencil, jot down 10 reasons that a business would succeed that I have just discussed with you. Okay, so individually, there are 6 Ds of success. We have to have the desire. And with desire, we have to do it with vision. We have to be diligent, making the most of absolutely every opportunity. It is amazing when you go to social events, for instance, Chamber of Commerce sponsored events. You have no idea how you may start to build a relationship and make the most of the opportunity that you're there, and be diligent about making an effort to meet those people. We need to pay attention to details, organizational skills, make sacrifices, be disciplined, commitment to a purpose, dedication, and determination. So the 6 Ds: desire, diligence, details, discipline, dedication, and determination. So here's some notable quotes. I'm not going to read them. You can read them, but they're some of my favorite. And the last one is certainly my favorite. And I firmly believe in that and try to live my life by that. So we've talked about the things that we need to do as entrepreneurs, and what we can do is to, as far as being prepared, running a successful business. But in the end, there is one essential ingredient that we need. And it's going to be a multiple choice. So of those, I'm going to ask you, which one is it? Is it money, a product or service, customers, or management skills? Please put your answer in the chat box. And some of you, I know, have already heard the answer to this. So no cheating. But at any rate, let's see what they come up with, Nicole.
So I have B and D as in dog. So far, I have customers, C. B and D are in a tie. C came in as a tie now too. They're all the same.
Great. Thank you. Well, I'm very glad that nobody picked money, because you're absolutely right. We can do it on a shoestring, right? Money isn't the answer to everything. A product or service is certainly important. We have to have that. We have to have something to offer. And we've already talked about how you have to know that product or service. And obviously we need customers, and management skills are important. So this is really kind of a trick question, because we need all four, but the key is which one is essential. And there is only one, and that would be C, customers. So those of you who said customers, pat yourself on the back. We need customers because we can have all the money in the world. We can have the best product or service, but if we don't have customers to buy it, we're no longer going to have a business. And we can be the best manager and have 4 degrees in management, properties, management skills. We may know how to run that ship, but if we don't have any customers, we have nothing. So customers is the right answer. So what do we know? It's all about the customers, and the customers are your market. So a customer-driven philosophy says that you need to stay ahead of the competitive wave. You need to increase customer loyalty. It is much easier to retain a customer that you already have than it is to get a new customer. And so the best advertisement that we can do is actually free. And that is word of mouth from our loyal customers. They are going to influence someone else to come and patronize you better than anything you can do, whether it's on social media, if it's on billboards, televisions, or whatever it is. But also let me remind you that your customers can also be your worst enemy. If they are not happy with you, they can destroy your business quicker than anything else that you're even aware of that you've done. It's a value-based competitive edge. It's not necessarily the price. You don't have to be the lowest price. You don't necessarily even have to be competitively priced, but it's the value that that customer is getting from the price. It's learning your business. It's ongoing. It's constant. Stay with the trends. Stay with the curves. Long-term survival. That's what it's all about. That's what we're striving for. Long-term customers create long-term survival. A faster turnaround time. Unfortunately, in today's society, it's all about time. People have less time, it seems, and they want everything instantaneously. The generations coming up are so used to needing an answer for something. They Google it. The answer is there. That's what they expect with business as well. So anything that you can do to create a faster turnaround time is more than likely going to please your customer. Clearer goals and focused decision-making. Again, what does that come back to? A written business plan. Increased business with existing customers. the more that you can obtain from one customer, again, is less that you have to spend in getting a new customer to achieve your goals. An increased incentive for innovative learning. Those are all keys to a customer-driven philosophy. And as we learn, the one essential ingredient to success is the customer. So let's talk a little bit about business plans. Isn't this just for big companies? How does planning help your management? Can't I hire someone to do this for me? Why is planning so important? How can I know all the answers? How often do I have to do this? And what is in it for me? All of those can be summed up with a big yes, in my opinion. Isn't this for big companies only? Absolutely not. I don't care if you are a single employee, if you're a sole proprietor. A written business plan is important for your success because, again, businesses don't plan to fail, but those with a written business plan are 30% more successful. How does planning help management? It gets everybody on the same page. You can share with your management team and your employees what your goals are, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, annually, however you choose to manage. But they know what is expected of them and what it's going to take to help you reach your goals. Can I hire someone to do this for me? Yeah, believe it or not, you can go out on the web and you can pay someone and pay them generally a very hefty price to do it for you. However, that is totally worthless in my opinion. That is a useless business plan because that person, that firm, that company does not see your vision. Typically, they have a template and they'll fill in the template for your type of business. And I've even seen some that have come in and my clients have claimed to write them themselves. And about the third page, all of a sudden, the name of the company is wrong. The address is wrong. Whoa, something happened and that company got lazy. So I suggest that no, do it yourself along with the people that matter to you, your family, your friends, anybody that's got a vested interest in your business. It can certainly help you and give you ideas, but it ultimately needs to be done by you. And why is it so important? Again, it gets everybody on the same page and it is the roadmap to your success. You won't know all of the answers. Again, that's why there's business professionals. There are organizations, nonprofit organizations to help you answer those questions, particularly when it comes to the demographics, when it comes to the legalities of the business. How do I organize my business? Which is organization best for me? There's all kinds of professionals and nonprofit organizations to help you determine this. And how often do you have to do this? Again, certainly depending on how much the market changes, what economic factors we have looked at, or how many times you've turned employees, for instance, or management people. Those are all variables. But at the very, very minimum, I suggest that you take a look at it again on an annual basis. And what is in it for you? Success. All about success. So the top 10 reasons to do a business plan are: it gets your thoughts organized. It will force you to take a good look at the business. It can be used as a feasibility study or help continue success. It's a good tool for better management. It helps communicate your ideas. It helps you move from reactive to proactive. Proactive is planning. It points everyone in the organization in the same direction. It helps identify opportunities you may not have thought of. It focuses the attention on important questions. And again, businesses are 30% more successful if they have a written business plan. So in a nutshell, what a written business plan does is it takes all of your thoughts that could be running all over your head and it puts them in an organized manner on a piece of paper that can be understood by people outside of your organization, people that you bring into your organization, to get everybody on the same page and moving in the same direction so there's more success. And so before you start, you have to believe that planning is important. You've got to commit the time and energy. Involve everyone, like I said, not just necessarily your management team or your employees, but your family, your friends, your support team. The more thoughts and ideas and eyes that we can see on our idea, the better our written plan. And have realistic expectations. Again, don't think we're going to open and 2 months from now we're going to be turning a profit. That is not realistic. But eventually that will happen if your business is well planned. Be open to discovering disappointing news. That's for sure. Something that you may have thought was the best thing going. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Could not be what the market wants at all for multiple reasons. Therefore, that might be a disappointment to you, but let's make adjustments. Again, listening to our customers. Oh, what do they want? What can I do? And we use it as a feasibility study. It's a benchmark to track our performance. It's a reminder of our goals. And goals, by the way, should always be posted, not necessarily for the public to see, and not necessarily in terms of dollars and cents, but perhaps in terms of percentages. Perhaps in the break room or where your employees clock in. Remind them what they are to do to reach their goals today, this week, or this month. It's a means for assigning priorities. If we have our goals in order and we've shared them with our employees and our coworkers and our family members and support team, they're going to help us reach that goal instead of slipping something else in that all of a sudden pops to mind and might be a priority. It's a financing proposal, whether it's a bank, whether it is borrowing from a family member or a group of investors. They all want to know that you know what you're going to do and how you're going to be able to repay their money and what your roadmap is to get there. And so we first have to start by researching our industry. We got to look at the big picture. Don't just think about what your business is going to do in this sea of businesses out there, but let's take a look at everything that affects it. So what have the consumer trends been in the past 5 years? What changes in products or services have we seen within our industry? What government regulations or tax issues have been changed or imposed? What changes in price or cost of supplies have taken place? These will help you understand if this is a business that is growing in trends. Is it plateaued? Maybe it's becoming saturated. Maybe it's becoming outdated. Or has there been a major change in the price and the cost of doing business? You might ask, where can I get this information? Well, you can identify a trade association. Almost every imaginable business has a trade association, and they love collecting data to help people in their industry. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. And oftentimes you can even find reports that are put out for particular associations on the internet. Obtain financial benchmarks. Again, what did this industry do in terms of dollars 5 years ago? And what is it doing today? What's that going to tell us? Is it on an uptrend, a plateau, or a declining trend? Identify your competitors. With the internet, our competition has increased thousands of fold. Anytime you now put your business online, the entire world becomes your competitor. Some obviously are a little stronger than others, but everyone becomes competition. Obtain trade area information. What's been happening within your immediate area? Again, has the population increased? Has it decreased or plateaued? How many dollars are being spent in your particular industry area? That information is also available through local resources as well as national organizations, and tracking through things like the census. Then we need to draw industry conclusions. So how is it developed? How do small businesses operate within the industry? What are the growth patterns? What is the industry size at the present? What's projected a year from now, from 5 years from now? Are there any niche markets that are hot? Or in an existing market, can you build a niche? How has and will international trade impacted your industry? And how will current new government regulations impact the industry? And again, with the pandemic and COVID-19, we're seeing a lot of that, particularly how new government regulations will impact the industry. I mean, there's no doubt that the cost of doing business is going to rise in almost every business because of the new regulations. Hopefully these are only temporary, but that's an unknown. And so while we're planning, we need to be thinking about the what if this is forever. What if this is the new norm, okay? And how will technology impact your industry and the small businesses within it? And that can be everything from doing business on the telephone. And again, we'll use the curbside pickup that has become so popular. You know, look at our grocery stores and our restaurants, even the hardware stores, pharmacies. All of these businesses are changing in their technology. They're doing online ordering, online scheduling at salons, curbside pickup, delivery, just goes on and on. So we have to be conscious of those things. We have to learn who, how, where, what, when, and why they need or want our product. How much do they want, and how often do they want it? So not only if I can get 1,000 customers a month, of those 1,000, how many are going to be return customers, and how many of them are going to be once a month only customers? And this isn't going to be off the top of your head, but there is market research tools out there to allow you to figure that out. And I must have really liked that one because I'm repeating it. So let's look at our customer profile. What determines your customer profile? Okay, we're not profiling, but we're saying, what does our customer look like? So again, take a minute and think about that. What are 4 things that you need to know about your customer? Okay, we need to know, is it male or female? Predominantly. Granted, there's going to be some of both. Is it male or female? Professional or blue collar? What is the average age of our customer? Their income level? What about their neighborhoods? How do they buy? Where do they shop? When do they shop? And where do they get their information? These are all very important questions to ask, and we're going to break them down into a couple specific areas. One is the demographics. So demographic data refers to selected population characteristics, such as we use in government, which would be the census, right? So marketing or opinion research, or the demographic profiles used in such research studies. What is the hard data? You check a box, yes or no, I'm this, I'm that, I'm blah, blah, blah. I like this, I like that. I shop here, I shop there. Then we get into the psychographics. Demographics are pretty much black and white. It is what it is. Psychographics, on the other hand, can vary a lot. Psychographics refer to the use of demographics to study and measure the attitudes, values, lifestyles, and opinions as for marketing purposes, the soft data. Okay. So what do you think is more difficult to figure out, the demographics or the psychographics? The psychographics. What is the most important in making a decision about doing business with a particular business? It's the psychographics. Unfortunately, that seems just backwards. So we need to look at all of these factors when we decide how we're going to deal with our clients and what's going to keep our clients. So demographics will look at the age, the gender, the location, the education level, occupation, income level, how much is expendable dollars are left, what's the marital status, the household type, easy stuff, right? We got a new 2020 census being taken right now. This information will be available for us in about 3 years, and then we'll be able to look at that as the latest, greatest information. Fortunately, they do projections in the meantime, which are also helpful. But the psychographics, so what are their needs? What does it take for their security, their self-esteem, love, acceptance, understanding, beauty, and good health? Wow, that's a tough one. And what are their values? Is it status? So let's look at name brand jeans, for instance. Do they purchase them because of the status, their success, simplicity, or simply greed? What are their buying styles? Again, based on price, fads, sales, quality, technology, luxury, convenience. And are they modern, artistic, religious, liberal, conservative, environmental? I'm sure you'll recognize environmental, go green, recycle is very important, right? And what are their interests? Sports, reading, fitness, cooking? Are they workaholics, gardening? How can you take all of that and package it so that you can gain that customer? And you analyze the competition because you might learn about what the customer really wants or what the customer doesn't want. You can discover unserved niche markets by listening to your customers and finding a niche, even though you have competition, that they may not offer. You get ideas for marketing, merchandising, and a product mix. Obtain valuable advice, support, and information, particularly from remote or indirect competition. I always say in a like business, if it is a business that is 60 miles or more away from you, they love to talk to you about their success and what made them successful. Anybody else might be a little bit too close to share with you. But by doing this, you will definitely determine if you have any competitive advantage. Another way that we can do this is look at a competitive analysis. So I encourage you to do this. List who you think are your 4 biggest competitors, whether it's an online business, a web business, a brick and mortar. Who are your 4 largest competitors? And then rate the appearance, location, atmosphere, pricing, and advertising of those business. Give them a 5 for the highest and 1 for the lowest when you think about what they're doing. And the highest scores obviously equal your largest competition. And then I want you to take that a step further and do a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis will identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You'll see on the left of your screen, the internal. The internal strengths and weaknesses are within your organization. Those are things that you're able to control. If it is a weakness, we want to turn it into a strength within our own organization. The opportunities and the threats, on the other hand, are external. What we want to do is take the external strengths of another business and turn those into an opportunity for us. So what opportunities do we have given the strengths of our competitor? And what threats are there which are probably going to match our weaknesses? So first you'll do one of these for yourself, for your own business. So at the bottom, you'll see where it says company name. Do one of those for your own business, and then look at those competitors that we identified in our competitive analysis and do a SWOT analysis for each of them. The goal is so that you can take those threats and you can turn them into strengths and look for new opportunities based on what you've discovered about them. With that, I'm going to take a little pause and see if anybody has any questions. Anything specific that I can answer for you? Well, hearing none, then we're going to go ahead and talk about what is included in a business plan. So basically we have a cover page, and then the next page lists the table of contents so your reader can flip right to whatever it is they're looking for. And then section 1 will contain the executive summary, which is generally an abbreviation of, sorry about that, is an abbreviation of an abbreviated, as it says, summary of all the information that you are going to now build out on the next approximately 18 to 20 pages. Some of you are probably gasping, saying 18 to 20 pages. But believe me, by the time you get all of your thoughts and all of your plans written down, it is all of a sudden going to be like, wow, I've got 18 pages done. So section number 2 is really where we're going to start, and that's the background information. It's personal information about you, business concepts, the mission statement, goals, and objectives. Very, very, very important parts of a business plan. We're going to start right off the bat with that. Then we're going to get into the description of products and services that you intend to have in your business. And then we'll look at the organizational structure, your business structure. Who's going to be that management team and personnel? What positions does it take? How are you going to fill those positions? How are you going to recruit for them? What requirements are you going to have before you hire someone? Then we get into the marketing plan, which will be the industry description. Who is your market? Remember, we just talked about that. Who is in your market? Who's your competition? And what are your marketing strategies based on the information that you have gathered in doing your feasibility study and your competitive analysis? And then finally, we'll get into section 6, which is the financial plan. That is the part that generally has people just befuddled. But believe me, we're going to present a way that really hopefully will lay it out for you and make sense. And then at the end, we talk about the feasibility statement. And that, again, is just kind of a summary to tell any investors, hey, it's feasible to do because this is what I found out. Supporting documents are things like, oh, if you're going to remodel a building, perhaps, then you've got, the contractor's estimate, or resumes of you and the other management people that you've identified. And so those are all pretty simple. But where we're going to start is actually, again, on section 2 with the background information. And we actually have a template on our website. So if you go to www.roadstate.edu/SBDC, and for some reason that link really needs to have the www in front of it, it will bring you directly to our page, which then will have a link for tools and resources you can click on. And there you'll find the business plan template. And the business plan template is a Word document. And so you can download it to your computer, have it handy, and work on it at your convenience. But what I would like you to do is download that template and start on section 2, the background information. And actually, before we reconvene next week, if you could have section 2 and section 3 started, that would really be good. And I would anticipate that section 2, your goals and objectives and mission statement, are going to be pretty rough. And that's great because we're going to elaborate on those and we're going to talk about those next week. Okay. But let's at least get that down so then you can go back and start tweaking them, revising them, changing them according to what we discuss. Let me also assure you that anytime that you have any problems whatsoever, reach out to me. Feel free to contact me or Nicole at the chamber. So my email is the easiest way. I am still working remotely. And so when I see an email come through, I'm able to respond relatively quickly to it. And we can certainly set up a time to do a virtual call or a virtual meeting. Go ahead and use the phone number of 419-995-8184. That will go to my voicemail, and then I will pick that up because I'm notified instantly by email that I have a voicemail. And again, we'll try to get back with you ASAP. Fortunately, my world is slowing down a little bit because our businesses are getting the assistance through the CARES Act, reopening, getting back to business as usual. And so we're not quite as inundated as we were at the beginning of this pandemic. But at any rate, don't hesitate. You get stuck, you have any questions, anything you don't understand, I'm here to help every step of the way and make it as painless as possible to help make your business successful. So again, with that, if there's any questions, we'll be happy to address them.
Casey said, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll go ahead and wrap us up, Nicole.
Great.
So
okay.
we'll be back next
Thank
week.
you, Chris. Thank you, Les. So we will be back next Tuesday at 4:30. You will all receive an email of the information that Kathy just told you about with the links and instructions to be able to download the business plan template, along with a nice little reminder to complete section 2 and start section 3 for next Tuesday. You will receive this email by tomorrow, as well as a copy of the recording of today's presentation. That way you can go back and review. And we'll have another one next Tuesday. And by all means, like Kathy said before, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to her or myself, Nicole Scott at the Chamber. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.